It's hard to ignore that Anthem has issues that really need to get fixed. I can totally see why you would wait with spending your money right now. But I would be lying if I told you that I did not mostly have fun while playing the game for 30 hours now. I'm also still intrigued by the world and happy to log back in to play a few missions alone or with friends. Since there's so much negativity surrounding this game right now, and again I think that some of it is totally deserved, I've been critical of this game before in other videos, I still wanted to focus this video more on the things that Anthem actually does right and why I will keep it on my console, and I'm actually interested to see where they will take this game next. So let's discuss that in this video. Of course, if you like that, then a like would be super appreciated. And let's go. But before we get into it, I want to note that this video is sponsored by Amino, a social app where you can find like-minded people to talk about everything that you are interested in, including Anthem. Like, there's a dedicated group right now that will grow a lot now that the game is out. There's, for example, an Overwatch group with 230,000 members. So right now they're sharing, for example, masterwork drops, a 33% chance to do electric damage on this gun. That's pretty good indeed. There are polls to vote on, really cool fan art. And you can find my profile too, just search JorRaptor, follow me, join my chat room as well, talk Anthem, form groups, all that good stuff. I will of course be in that chat room as well. Just follow the link in the description or in the pinned comments to download the app for free on iOS and Android, and then I will see you there. So yes, thanks to Amino for sponsoring the video, really helps the channel out. And now let's get back into it. It's hard to look at Anthem and not think, there's something to this. You are in these awesome looking robot suits, flying around in a beautiful looking world, fighting aliens and other monsters. If you played the game, then you know that the flying also feels really good. I especially love the feedback that the Xbox One controller gives when you play on that console, feeling really nice when you like walk around. But yeah, overall the flying is of course an awesome way to traverse this world, and when playing with other people it's really cool to see a full party of javelins like take off to the next location. And these javelins of course look apart but also feel very different from each other. Like after playing many missions with the Colossus, it feels insanely light to fly around as the Ranger again, because the Colossus is of course a way more heavy character. The Interceptor is even more agile and focuses more on melee attacks and requires a completely different approach than the Storm that just sits back and throws powerful magic-like attacks at the enemies. I love taking out turrets with the Interceptor because they are unable to hit you when you stand up close and do your melee attacks, making the Interceptor really nice for taking out these annoying weapons, because the other javelins have a cooldown on their melee hit. Also, the amount of customization in terms of loadout is something that really speaks to me. Like, there are a ton of gear options that totally change up the way you play. Like with the Colossus, you have a rocket launcher on your back that you have to aim yourself, or you can run around with a lightning coil that hits enemies in a radius around you and might even combo them. And the combos are an extra layer to the combat that is more than welcome, as it pushes you to think differently. Instead of blasting your enemies with an explosion, you might want to make sure that they have a status effect on them first, so you deal more damage or get a buff that helps you out in combat. The effect also depends on your Javelin, like the Ranger has more damage on a single target, while with the Colossus you trigger an explosion that deals damage to surrounding enemies after a successful combo. So yes, combos are really important and super strong to use, but you should not focus on them at all times. I don't hear a lot of people talk about the very interesting feats system that also pushes you to play differently in order to get the most XP per mission. I already went in depth on this system in my how to level up fast video that I will link to at the end of this one. But yeah, having to think about the ways you kill your enemy, like with the weapons or with combos, with your gear, or if you want to focus on the multi-kills, also adds the much needed variety in the gameplay. And while Anthem totally needs more enemies that require you to use different tactics to take them out, but the fact that there are already many ways to defeat your enemies proves that there is a lot of room for more depth in this department. And the loot of course helps with that as well, and sure, it would be cooler if some of the max level loot would drop earlier, like that on level 20 you already got more interesting loot to kind of think about and mix and match, but still you already get a taste of how deep things can go early on with the component system that all have passive effects and inscriptions that can really alter your build. Great examples were given during a developer livestream where they for example showed this masterwork item that increased your damage while hovering. So this forces you to like stay in the air instead of like dropping down on the ground. Another great example is the combined arms masterwork component that increases the damage of your left button after you killed an enemy with the right button. So this will totally alter the order in which you use those abilities. So yes, the groundwork is already here with interesting ways to build your character. But of course, a stats page would be nice, so you can see all the effects that are active at one time. And there's a lot of room for more quality of life improvements to how these items are displayed to make it easier to read and understand what they do. But I'm sure that BioWare is aware of this and already looking into ways to improve it as well. Because I've rarely seen developers that are so outspoken and answering fan questions than some of the key figures over at BioWare. And it does not stay at words, but also translates into deeds. As a known farm route, for example for chest into the free play, was nerfed a few days after people discovered this without having to push an update, as BioWare was able to like change things on the fly. So yes, BioWare has a lot of work ahead of them in terms of technical issues, but also in terms of how the loot works. Like I already said, you can't really get a lot of interesting loot early in the game. And then on the max level, the really high challenges don't reward enough loot. So there's no real reason to commit to that because it takes a lot of time, but is not really worth it in terms of rewards. So things like that make this a really hard recommendation, and that's why I can totally see why I would hold your money and wait for them to improve it. But from what I've seen so far, I have really faith that they are going to make things better and improve the game a lot over time. It for example kinda sucks that there's no unique loot at the end of these 4-player strongholds, and many people agree and many people spoke out about that. While BioWare now has plans to add vanity chests at the end of these expeditions that will reward you with special cosmetic items, giving you another incentive to do these expeditions. And yes, I totally would have preferred if Anthem launched in a better state with more content than just the free strongholds, with more variation in mission design. And while it sucks that we don't have that right now, it can totally improve over time, with them already sharing that a new stronghold is part of the upcoming first act that will kick off in March. I think it's always exciting to see a new game IP, and that's why Anthem always sparked my interest versus for example something like The Division 2 that looks to be way more feature rich, a way more solid game in terms of content variety and how loot and progression works, but it also plays a lot of things safe and looks pretty similar to the first game. While I haven't played a game before where I can fly around in a jungle, it's just more exciting to me to learn more about this type of new world. A new IP in this sort of future fantasy world is just more appealing, and with BioWare starting this from scratch, it means that they also have a lot of freedom of where they want to go next. Like it would be cool to see different parts of this world, maybe with snow or more crowded urban environments. The possibilities are really endless, and I'm curious to see where the series will go next, because I totally like the foundation they created right here. So hopefully BioWare keeps the support up and finds a steady pace at which they release content. I will totally be playing on and off, and I'm curious to see what the future will bring for this game, because I totally think it has a ton of potential. Of course, I'm curious to hear what you think of Anthem. Let me know in the comments down below, or in that Amino chat we discussed earlier in the video. I will hang around in that app as well. You can find the link to download it, of course, in the description and also in the pinned comment. Like the video to support the channel. Check out my recent video on how to level up fast, because it will really help you a lot to get the most XP out of your missions. And I will speak to you next time. Goodbye.